Go ahead, Jessica.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you to Grant and to Nathan and Scott for just giving me this opportunity as well. So my name is Jessica, for any of you who I don't know, and I just want to tell you a little bit about my story and what the Lord has been doing in my life. The Lord really began his salvation work in me at a very young age. And by the time I got to high school, my summers consisted mostly of three things: lots of basketball camps, inner city mission trips, and church camp. And for those of you who did not get the experience of Arkansas church camp growing up, I'll give you a little bit so that you can get a taste of it. Mostly consisted of Arkansas July summer heat, cabins, wooden bunk beds, and no air conditioning. So it's just a little snippet of that. And one of the things that was so distinct about church camp is you had this week of really growing in your knowledge and understanding of the Lord. And by the last night, at the end, the band that played at the camp all week somehow managed to end the night with your favorite song of the week. Always happened. And typically by about the 12th time they played the bridge, your heart was just open to whatever the Lord was telling you. So I very distinctly remember one of those hot summer nights, knowing that the Lord was changing the trajectory of my life. I didn't know what that looked like, but I very distinctly remember that missions was a part of that. And I realized I had no skill set to offer to the Lord, and I knew that this was just the beginning of this story, but I very much felt that call then. If we fast forward a little bit, I am a physician assistant, and during my training, typically the way training goes for a PA is you have a year in the classroom, is what we called our didactic year. And towards the end of that year, I very distinctly remember a day walking into the classroom, and one of our professors had put up pieces of paper around the room. And this was a time right before we started our clinical rotations. We were all anxiously excited to go and save the world. And none of us really knew what our career path would look like. But I remember scanning the room and seeing the different pieces of paper. And they said things like inpatient medicine, surgery, outpatient clinic, and just nothing felt right. And then I looked to the side and I saw a sign that said international medicine. And I just very distinctly remember walking over that sign and knowing this is what the Lord has been growing and pruning me to do for my life, and still didn't know what I was doing at that point. And when we talk about missions, we always reference Matthew 28, the Great Commission. And I think for a lot of those years and a lot of my life, I put so much emphasis on the go in that verse in Matthew 28. And I also realize now that I put a lot of glory on the go. And that was where I put the emphasis, and that's where I felt like the Lord would fulfill me once I went. And the Lord has really used these last few years of training me in medicine and my knowledge of Him and in being able to practice clinically. And what He's allowed me to see is when you could look at the Greek of that verse, the only imperative command in that sentence is actually to make. So before He calls us to go, He really more than anything calls us to make disciples. And making disciples looks different throughout the world, but more than anything, whether it is in the bush of Africa, He calls us to make disciples, or whether it's in Little Rock, Arkansas, He calls us to make disciples. And I feel like He really had to redeem my thought process in that and remind me that I'm not going to receive any glory in going. And I'm so thankful for these years of growing in that so that I could better understand what it looks like to be a faithful disciple of His. All of that to say, I have the incredible opportunity to leave within the next month to move to Ethiopia. While I'm there, I'll be there initially for 6 months working with a Dr. Mary Vanderquay. This woman is incredible, She is in her late 70s. She has been in Ethiopia since 1994. And she works with a nearby village near Soto, Ethiopia. And she has spent her life's work in creating educational materials for medical providers on how to treat in the developing world. And so I'm just going to have the opportunity to learn from her for 6 months, to go out and treat patients in the villages with her. And I'll also have the incredible opportunity to volunteer at the hospital. I'm going to be working with a program to launch a rheumatic heart screening program. So it's going to be an incredible opportunity of learning, and I'm really, really excited. And after the 6 months, I don't know where I'll be. I know I'll be on the field long term. There's the possibility of me staying in Ethiopia or moving elsewhere in Africa. But all of that to say, that's part of my story. And in this picture, that's actually some of the women in the village where Dr. Mary works. So my God ask is this: I cannot do this without the prayer warriors that are standing in this room. I need you to come alongside me, and I need you to intercede on my behalf. I know many of you have families, and you're launching out into your careers, and you're in a season of life where you can't pick up and go. But what's incredible is I get to be a part of that with you, and we can be the hands and feet of Jesus together. So I ask that you would come alongside me in prayer. And I need financial support. So what that looks like is with monthly gifts or one-time gifts. I'm excited to announce I'm at 78% of my monthly goals. So yeah, it's been an incredible 2 months. The Lord has just been affirming in that. And so what it looks like is I need about 6 more participants with me at $100 a month. Or 11 at $50 a month. And I know that sounds like a lot of money to people, but every gift is a blessing too. So whether you're able to give $10 a month, that is such an encouragement, or whatever gift you feel like the Lord is laying on your heart would be incredible. I had the opportunity this last week to spend at a training in tropical medicine, and one of the instructors had taken 1 Corinthians 13 about love and kind of written her own little poem about it. And one of the lines she said just has stuck with me all week is that when we're talking about God's love, his love always protects the vulnerable. And to me, in my heart, the vulnerable and the least of these are in the developing world. And so right now, that's where I feel called to go. So I just pray that you would come alongside me in whatever way that you can. I'm excited to enter into this journey, and I just want to thank Epic Church for being a part of my story in these last few years and the way it's going to continue to be a part of that as well. So thank you.
I'm not letting her sit down just yet. We can be a part of this. What is it, 22% more is what you need for monthly stuff? I know sometimes people are like, oh, money's, you can't do things without money, guys. I don't know if you know this or not, but especially for someone like what Jessica is doing, that's how they do anything, is they have to have support, that monthly support, because where they're going, they're just not going to go and start making money at a job there. They're going to serve, they're going to help, and so I would love for you guys to really pray about being a part of that, about taking up the extra 22% that she needs to do that, but more than anything, I want us to be a church that's praying for her. I want to be a church that is that she knows that we are with her, even though she may not be able to see us face to face, that we are with her every day, praying for her and praying for the Lord to protect her and really praying for the Lord to use her to make disciples. And so I'm going to ask for her family group or any friends that you guys have. Go ahead and stand right here, Jessica. We can begin that prayer now. I want you guys to go ahead and come on up. Whoever wants to come up and pray. It doesn't have to be those select people, don't worry. But just whoever wants to come up and pray for her. We're going to spend a quick moment to do that as a church, as a community. You know, we talked today about releasing control, about letting the Lord be the Lord of our lives. And this is a beautiful picture of that, amen. I'm going to ask for Scott Duvall to pray a prayer for all of us.